Our memo summarizes the economic harm created by the airline industry and how price discrimination can be minimized in the future. The airline industry essentially is an oligopoly, which is giving them too much pricing power. Since there are only a few airlines who have most of the market share, they are able to charge consumers basically whatever they would like. To improve price discrimination in the travel industry, we suggest that the government can subsidize costs for things like aircraft parking and landing fees for smaller airline companies so they will be able to compete with larger airlines. Additionally, the government should reduce the amount of mergers allowed and ultimately make it difficult for them to even take place. This will then decrease the amount of market power airlines are getting when merging together.
Currently, there are a couple of problems with the market in the airline industry. The first problem is that airlines have too much pricing power. This leads to problems for consumers. Some of these problems are that they have fewer options on which airline they can choose from, they have to pay a higher price for their ticket, and they have very inconvenient times for their flights. These options make it very unaccommodating for the average person to travel. Another major issue with the airline industry is that each airline has a very high portion of the market share. This leads to a very high HHI in the airline industry. HHI is a measure of the size of the firms in an industry relative to the industry, which is an indicator of the amount of competition. Currently, the HHI in the airline industry is 1,058, but there was actually just a merger recently between US and American Airlines, which raised the HHI to 1,487. This increase of the HHI to 1,487 shows that there's not enough competition in the market, and the number of mergers should be reduced in order to increase the amount of competition, allowing for a more fair industry.
The measurement of harm in the case of the airline industry stems from the price discrimination of the airlines themselves. With so few airlines available, these companies have a greater pricing power. This pricing power is being used to create a loss in consumer welfare by inflating prices through the collusion and unfair price discrimination. With the airlines producing less flights during certain times and only flying to certain destinations, the airline companies are restricting choices from consumers. The travel sites like Expedia and Kayak are actually helping the situation by reducing search costs, but are being taken advantage of by airline companies due to the effortlessness to change prices instantly.
In order to decrease the amount of price discrimination in the market, it is recommended the FTC put a law in place that gives aircraft parking and landing subsidies to smaller airline companies. By doing this, we are allowing the smaller airline companies to actually have a chance to compete with larger firms, allowing them to stay in the business longer and offer more competitive pricing. Since there will be more firms in the airline business, it will be harder for them to collude with each other and actually bring about more competition. Furthermore, if more of the small companies are given a chance to grow via these subsidies, they will be less likely to be bought out by large airline companies, decreasing the market share of these large companies instead of increasing it.